My father Paul once told me of a story from when he was a little boy. You see, Paul was a normal kid like you. He wore glasses to see the board, and his hair was styled like all the cool kids those days. One day, Paul got a call from his friend, George. George was a bit of a troublemaker. He was never able to understand that there's a time and a place for everything. He goofed off in class and talked when he should be listening. Anyways, George had this great idea. He wanted Paul to sneak out at night and come with him to smash pumpkins. At first, Paul wasn't so sure, but he liked George and wanted to be his friend, so he agreed. That night, Paul told his parents that he was going to study over at George's house, and George told his parents that he was studying over at Paul's. But instead, they went down to the Smith's farm to smash pumpkins. It was fun at first, and Paul was glad to have a new friend. But as they were out laughing and breaking pumpkins, Mrs. Smith heard something happening outside. She put down her drink and came to the door to see what was wrong. Much to her surprise, she found the two boys were smashing her well-earned harvest of pumpkins. George and Paul saw that they were caught and ran away fast. "Every man for himself," George shouted as they headed for the woods, trying to lose the angry Mrs. Smith. Now, Paul was never good at sports. He never really came in first place, and so he had a hard time running through the thick leaves and twigs on the ground of the forest. And suddenly, Paul's glasses fell off of his face. Poor Paul was basically blind without his glasses, especially because it was getting darker and darker. Luckily, Paul was almost home by then, and he was able to squint and get home. When he was home, he went to his mother and tried to explain what had happened, but he couldn't tell the truth because he had already lied about where he was. So he said he must have lost them on the sidewalk on the way home from George's. Paul's mother came up with a solution. She decided that she would grab a flashlight and march all the way to George's house looking for the missing glasses that Paul had lost. Neighbors heard the commotion and came out to see what was wrong. They began to grab their own flashlights and help join in the search. Paul felt horrible because he had lied and knew the glasses were not anywhere near George's house, but in the woods near the Smith's farm. Suddenly, Mrs. Smith came upon the commotion and asked what was happening. Paul's mother explained that her darling Paul had lost his glasses on the way home. Mrs. Smith knew that this was a lie and told her what really happened. Paul was in trouble. He had no idea how to make the situation better. Luckily, Mrs. Smith had found Paul's glasses while chasing after the boys. She gave them back to Paul, but had one condition: that he and George help her harvest her pumpkins this fall and help plant new ones next spring.